మెయిన్స్ 2020 మొదటి ప్రయత్నంలోనే 45 మంది విద్యార్థులకు గాను 36 మంది విద్యార్థులు ఐఐటి అడ్వాన్స్డ్ కి అర్హత సాధించి అత్యద్భుతమైన ప్రతిభను సామాన్యమైన విద్యార్థుల ద్వారా నిరూపించిన ఏకైక విద్యా సంస్థ కృష్ణమూర్తి ఐఐటి అండ్ నీట్ అకాడమీ నెల్లూరు.
Good morning, children. So yesterday we have seen about the process of digestion. So in the process of digestion we have seen when food enters into the mouth, food is mixed with the saliva, it is masticated well, and the enzyme present in the saliva is salivary amylase. So food is mixed with the salivary amylase. Salivary amylase acts on carbohydrates, or we can say as starch. So already 30% of carbohydrates are hydrolyzed by the enzyme amylase. So the food after mixing with the saliva, food slowly enters into the esophagus. Esophagus is a thin, long tube which connects from mouth to the stomach. No digestive enzymes are present in the esophagus. Just food passes from mouth to the stomach. But in the stomach, food is lined, stomach is lined with the epithelial, that is mucous epithelium, whereas the mucous epithelium below gastric glands are present. Gastric glands gives out the gastric juices which consist of proenzymes. These proenzymes are pepsinogen and prorenin, which are of inactive form. This inactive forms of prorenin has to be activated. So which activates is in the, so that is in the gastric juice, hydrochloric acid also is present. This hydrochloric acid activates the proenzymes into active enzymes. So pepsinogen acts on the proteins present in the food particles, whereas prorenin acts on the milk protein casein. But whereas prorenin and pepsinogen are of inactive form, they are converted to active form by the action of hydrochloric acid. After converting to hydrochloric acid, this prorenin mostly is present in the small children. It acts on a milk protein called casein. So casein is converted to calcium paracasinate, whereas calcium paracasinate is again converted to peptones by the action of pepsin. So another enzyme is pepsinogen. Even pepsinogen is of inactive form. This inactive form is converted by hydrochloric acid to active form. Pepsin acts on proteins and converts proteins into peptones and proteases. So till there we have seen. And also I have said about the intestine, how this intestine, how the intestine is lined and what are the enzymes present in the intestine. So food through pyloric sphincter enters to the duodenum. Duodenum is the first part in the intestine. So the proximal duodenum, the cells present in the proximal duodenum gives out more amount of more amount of bicarbonate. And also already we have seen this duodenum consists of Brunner's glands which gives out mucus. Whereas the food, when it is coming from the stomach, the food is in acidic nature. The acidic nature of food cannot be digested by intestinal enzymes and pancreatic enzymes. And while saying the structure in the duodenum, what kind of enzymes are entering into the duodenum? Bile salts which are coming from the liver, as well as the pancreatic juice which is coming from the pancreas enters into the duodenum. So while coming into the duodenum, food is mixed with the bile juice as well as the pancreatic juice. Then enters to the next part called intestinal part or jejunum or ileum. So in this jejunum, we can see the intestinal juices are present. So this intestinal enzymes, food is mixed with intestinal enzymes and pancreatic enzymes while entering the food from duodenum to the intestine. So food is mixed. But here what we have to say is the food after entering into the intestine, that food is of acidic in nature. So the intestinal enzymes of the succus entericus, total we can call as succus entericus, The food will not digest, or enzymes will not show any action on acidic nature of food. The food has to be converted to alkaline media. So alkaline media food is of a 7.8 pH. It must be of 7.4 or 7.8 pH. So after converting the acidic nature of food into alkaline nature, then only the enzymes acts on the food particles and digest the food particles to their end products. But which is converting the acidic nature of food to alkaline nature is bicarbonates which are produced in the duodenum, as well as the mucus which is produced by the proximal that is which is produced by the Brunner glands present in the duodenum. This converts the acidic nature of food into alkaline nature. Then only the food which after turning to alkaline nature, then these enzymes, that is intestinal enzymes as well as pancreatic enzymes, acts on the food materials to digest till they get the end products. So up to there we have seen, children. Now we will see how the digestion of proteins occurs. So for digestion of the proteins, so after mixing, mostly in the, that is in pancreas, we have pancreatic amylase as well as pancreatic lipases, and also the enzymes which are required for the digestion of proteins. Already little digestion of proteins already started in the stomach by the enzyme called pepsin. So now you will see how the digestion of proteins starts in the intestine. So if you see the digestion of proteins, the enzymes present in the intestine are trypsin, that is a trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, then peptidases. So these are the enzymes present in the intestine which are of inactive form. So what are the enzymes which digest the proteins? The enzymes which digest the proteins which are present in the intestine are trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, and peptidases. Peptidases means that is a carbopeptidases, aminopeptidases. So these are the peptidases, or these are the enzymes present in the intestine which are of inactive form. So this inactive form of enzymes has to be activated. After this enzymes converting to active form only, they shows action on proteins, or they digest the proteins. So how this is converted is, suppose trypsinogen. Trypsinogen is of inactive form. Trypsinogen is of inactive form. So it is activated by enterokinase. Enterokinase. It is activated by enterokinase. So the enterokinase which is present in the intestine activates trypsinogen and converts trypsinogen into trypsin. Converts trypsinogen into trypsin, which is of active form. Which is of a active form. But here what we have to observe is, if little bit amount of trypsinogen is converted to active trypsin, that trypsin can convert remaining trypsinogen or another enzymes into active forms. So such kind of process we will call as autocatalysis. Autocatalysis means the enzyme which can make the remaining enzyme into active form. Auto means by own. So which enzyme is an autocatalyst? Trypsin is an autocatalyst. So trypsinogen, which is of inactive form, is converted by the digestive intestinal enzyme called enterokinase into an active form called trypsin. Trypsinogen is an inactive form. Trypsin is an active form. Now, the remaining trypsinogen is an inactive or active form, children? Trypsinogen is an inactive form. So remaining trypsinogen is converted to active form by trypsin, into trypsin. So into the active form. So that is called autocatalysis. That is called a autocatalysis. Autocatalysis which can convert the remaining inactive form of enzymes into active form of enzymes. So another enzyme is called chymotrypsin. Another enzyme is called chymotrypsinogen. Even this chymotrypsinogen is of inactive form. Chymotrypsinogen is of inactive form which is converted to active form by trypsin. Active form by trypsin into chymotrypsinogen. Chymotrypsin. So chymotrypsin is an active form. So in this way, the inactive form of enzymes present in the intestine are converted to active form. Now this active form of enzymes only can digest the protein. So how this digest the protein? So already we have seen in the gastric juice, that is the proteins are started digestion and are converted to peptones and proteases. Now we will see the remaining proteins which are present in the food particles and the peptones and proteases. Peptones and proteases which has digested or a digestion started in the stomach are are converted to the end products. So which convert these proteins, peptones and proteases means trypsin, trypsin, chymotrypsin, trypsin, chymotrypsin, then carboxypeptidases, carboxypeptidases, peptidases, and another one is aminopeptidases. Aminopeptidases. So these are the enzymes which converts proteins, peptones, and into proteases into tripeptides. Tripeptides converts into tripeptides. So again this tripeptides, 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 tripeptides are converted to by the action of an enzyme called tripeptidase. Tripeptidase. So tripeptidase is an enzyme which converts tripeptides. So these tripeptides are converted to dipeptides. Are converted to dipeptides by the action of tripeptidase. Now again this dipeptides, dipeptides are dipeptides are converted to amino acids, are converted to amino acids by the action of dipeptidase, by the action of a dipeptidase. So which is the end product of proteins? Amino acids are the end product of protein. End product of proteins. So end product of proteins. So we can say that proteins, if proteins are converted to amino acids, we can say the digestion of proteins has completed. So which is the end product of proteins? Amino acids are the end product of proteins. So once again see children, already digestion starts, protein, little bit amount of protein digestion starts in the stomach. So this digestion that is present in the gastric juice. So it is by the pepsin, an enzyme called pepsin. But here when the food enters into the intestine, the enzymes which are present in the intestine are of inactive forms. The inactive form of enzymes present in the intestine are trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen and peptidases. Chymotrypsinogen and peptidases. Now the trypsinogen which is of inactive form must be converted to active form. So trypsinogen is converted to trypsin by the action of enterokinase present in the intestine. Trypsinogen, after little bit amount of trypsin becoming active, that trypsin itself converts other enzymes to active form. So the same enzyme which is converting other form of enzymes to active form is called autocatalysis. So which is autocatalysis here? Trypsin is an autocatalyzer. So trypsinogen is converted to trypsin by the enzyme called trypsin, that is called autocatalysis. Another inactive enzyme is called chymotrypsin. Chymotrypsin is an inactive enzyme which is converted to chymotrypsin, which is converted to chymotrypsin, which is converted to chymotrypsin into active form. Chymotrypsinogen is an inactive form, is converted to chymotrypsin, that is active form, by the enzyme called trypsin. Now, the inactive form of enzymes are converted to active form. This active form of enzymes only digest the proteins present in the food particles. So, what are the proteins? Are proteins present with the food particles are in the form of proteins, peptones, and proteases. Peptones and proteases are formed by the action of pepsin present in the gastric juice. Now the proteins, peptones, and proteases are converted to, or we can say are digested into tripeptides and dipeptides. Tripeptides and dipeptides by the action of trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidases, and aminopeptidases. Now the tripeptide is converted to dipeptide by the action of tripeptidase. Tripeptidase is an enzyme which is converting tripeptides into dipeptide. Now dipeptides are converted to the end product of proteins called amino acid. So amino acid is the end product of, that is end product of proteins. So dipeptide is converted to amino acid by the action of dipeptidase. Dipeptidase is an enzyme which is converting dipeptides into amino acids. So now the end product of amino acid has formed. But here, what are the still remaining digestion which has to be digested in the food? Still carbohydrates is there. The end product of carbohydrate is glucose and the sugar, and it's a sugar molecules. The end product of protein is amino acid. End product of fats is fatty acids and glycerol. So still carbohydrate digestion and fatty acids has to be digested to their end products. So now we will see about the digestion of fats. How this digestion of fats occur, and what is the end product of fats? The end product of fats is fatty acid and glycerol. So we have to see that if end product, if we get the end product in the after the digestion, we can think that the complete digestion has occurred. Now, which food particle has digested completely? Proteins has digested. So the next food particle or the nutrient which has to be digested in the small intestine is fats. Digestion of fats. Digestion of fats. Now the fats which are present in the food particles is digested in the small intestine. So when the food is coming from the stomach to the small intestine, or when it's entering into the duodenum, duodenum has a connection, or we can say into the duodenum which enzyme, which juice enters is the bile juice enters, or bile which is secreted by the liver enters into the duodenum. When the food is traveling or passing from stomach to the duodenum, bile juice, the food is mixed with the bile entering into the duodenum. So while we are talking, why we are talking about the bile is Fats are present in large molecules. Fats are present in the large molecules. The fat molecules has to be converted to small molecules. So large amount of a large molecules of the fat is very difficult to digest. So fat globules has to be converted to small molecules called micelles. So here emulsification.
జేఈఈ మెయిన్స్ 2020 మొదటి ప్రయత్నంలోనే 45 మంది విద్యార్థులకు గాను 36 మంది విద్యార్థులు ఐఐటి అడ్వాన్స్డ్ కి అర్హత సాధించి అత్యద్భుతమైన ప్రతిభను సామాన్యమైన విద్యార్థుల ద్వారా నిరూపించిన ఏకైక విద్యా సంస్థ
కృష్ణమూర్తి ఐఐటి అండ్ నీట్ అకాడమీ నెల్లూరు.
Emulsification is nothing but a conversion of large fat molecules into small fat globules is called emulsification. So which emulsifies? So before digestion of fat, which occurs is emulsification occurs. Emulsification. What is meant by emulsification? Conversion of large fat bodies, fat globules into small molecules, into small fat globules. Fat globules is called emulsification. Is called a emulsification. So small one is nothing but a micelles. That is small one is the micelles are the small fat globules. So how this emulsification occurs? So we will see in the form of equation how fats are digested. What is the end product of fats, children? That is fatty acid and glycerol. And glycerol are the end products of fat. End product of fat. Now, the fat has to be digested into fatty acids and glycerol. If fats becomes to fatty acids and glycerol, we can say that fat digestion completed in the intestine. So first one emulsification we said. So now we'll see fats are emulsified. So emulsification we said, that is emulsification is conversion of large fat globules into small blood. So how this emulsification occurs? Emulsification occurs by the bile salts. By the bile salts. Where are bile salts present? Very important, children. Bile salts are present in the bile juice, which is secreted by the liver. So now fats are emulsified by bile salts. So that fats we are calling as emulsified fats. We are calling as emulsified fats. So fats which are present in the food particles are converted to emulsified fats. That emulsification occurs by the bile salts which are coming from the liver. Now these emulsified fats are converted to diglycerides. Diglycerides are converted to diglycerides by the action of lipase. What is lipase? Lipase is nothing but the enzyme which digests the fat. So lipase is the enzyme which digests the fats. So fats are converted to diglycerides by the action of lipase. Lipase is the enzyme which digests the fat molecule. Now the diglycerides which are converted to lipase is fats which are converted to diglycerides are converted by the action of lipase. Now again this diglycerides are again converted to monoglycerides. Monoglycerides are converted to monoglycerides by the action of lipase. By the action of a lipase. Again this monoglycerides, again the monoglycerides are converted to fatty acids, converted to fatty acids and glycerol. Fatty acids and glycerol by the action of lipase. By the action of lipase. So in this way, we got the fats are digested and the end product called fatty acids and glycerol is formed. Now fats digestion also took place. Now which is still remaining? Carbohydrates are remaining. So the next one is how the carbohydrates digestion occurs in the intestine. So the end products of carbohydrates or we can call as starch. The end, the end product of digestion of carbohydrates. Digestion of carbohydrates. So what are the end products of carbohydrates? The end products of carbohydrates are glucose is nothing but glucose, fructose, galactose, galactose. So these are the end products of carbohydrates. Or we can call the end products during end products disaccharides must be disaccharides. Disaccharide has to be converted to monosaccharides. Monosaccharides has to be converted to monosaccharides. So what are disaccharides and how the carbohydrates are converted to disaccharides and after digestion how these disaccharides are converted to monosaccharides. So if you see this how this occurs is so in the already while we are speaking about the mouth and the salivary glands, saliva consists of an enzyme called salivary amylase. So even this amylase is an enzyme which shows action on carbohydrates. So how this shows on action on carbohydrates is, we can say it is nothing but a starch or carbohydrates we can write children. Suppose starch is nothing but a disaccharide which is converted by the action of amylase. By the action of amylase into maltose. By the action of amylase into maltose, sucrose, and lactose What are maltose, sucrose and lactose? Maltose, sucrose and lactose are the disaccharides which are converted by an enzyme called amylase. So carbohydrates or we can call as starch, it is converted to maltose, sucrose and lactose by the action of amylase. Which amylase? Salivary amylase. That is a salivary amylase. So salivary amylase is present in the salivary glands or the saliva that is in the mouth. But now what we are seeing, complete digestion occurs in the intestine we are saying. So in the intestine, what are the enzymes which digest this maltose, sucrose and lactose is intestinal amylase is present as well as pancreatic amylase also is present. So pancreatic amylase which is secreting from the pancreas and the intestinal amylase which is secreting from the intestine, even that both shows action on these disaccharides and converts to monosaccharides. What are the end products we have to get if the carbohydrates digestion is completed? The end products what we have to get is the glucose, fructose and galactose are sugar bases we can say. So these are the end products we have to get if digestion, complete digestion occurs in the carbohydrates. Now suppose maltose. Maltose is a disaccharide. So maltose is converted to glucose. Maltose is converted to glucose by an enzyme called maltase. By an enzyme called a maltase. So another one is what? Next one is sucrose. So sucrose is converted into fructose is converted to fructose and glucose by the action of or by an enzyme called sucrase. By an enzyme called a sucrase. Another one is lactose. Lactose is converted to glucose or galactose by the enzyme called lactase. By the enzyme called a lactase. So these are the end products. How this, why we are calling as maltose, sucrose and lactose is different food items has different kinds of sugar molecule. That is sometimes suppose if you drink milk consists of lactose. Lactose is one way or another form of carbohydrate. Another one is when we are taking sugar, that is sugar consists of sucrose. So like that, this carbohydrates which is modified into different kinds of disaccharides is converted to monosaccharides. So the end product of carbohydrates are glucose, fructose and galactose galactose. So these are the end products of carbohydrates. Now carbohydrates digestion also completed. Now what is remaining, children? Nucleic acid is remaining. Next for digestion is nucleic acids. So the end product of nucleic acids is sugar bases. So digestion of nucleic acid. Digestion of nucleic acid. So the end product of nucleic acid is sugar bases. End product is sugar bases. So how this nucleic acid? The food item what we take consists of nucleic acids. So this nucleic acid the food item which we take consists of nucleic acid. So this nucleic acids are also consists of nucleic acid also has to be digested by the enzymes. So which enzymes digest the nucleic acid is that is the enzymes present in the pancreatic juice, nucleases. So nucleases converts nucleic acids. That is, we can say DNAs and RNAs. DNAses and RNases of nucleases. So nucleic acid is converted to nucleotides by the enzyme called nucleases of DNAs and RNAs. Nucleases of DNAs and RNAs is the enzyme which is present in the pancreatic juice. So where is the enzyme which is present in the, which digests the nucleic acid? The enzyme which digests the nucleic acid is present in the pancreatic juice. So what is the enzyme which digests the nucleic acid? Nucleases of DNA and RNA. Nucleases of DNA and RNA is the enzyme which is present in the pancreatic juice which digests the nucleic acid. So nucleic acids are converted to nucleotides are converted to nucleotides by the action of nucleases of DNA and RNA into nucleotides and phosphates. Nucleotides and phosphates. Now, this nucleotides, because end products we have to get sugar. Nucleotides are again converted to nucleosides. Nucleosides by an enzyme called nucleotidase. By an enzyme called a nucleotidase, which is the enzyme which is converting nucleotides. Nucleotides is converted to nucleosides by an enzyme called nucleotidase. Now, nucleosides, nucleosides, nucleosides are converted to sugars, by which enzyme? Nucleosidase, by an enzyme called a nucleosidase. So in this way, even nucleic acid digestion also completes. Now you see children, what are the end products? Just we will see carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are carbohydrates are converted to disaccharides, are converted to monosaccharides. What are disaccharides? Carbohydrates are the disaccharides which are converted to monosaccharides called glucose, glucose, fructose, glucose, fructose and galactose Or another way also we can say, what are the end products of carbohydrate? Glucose, fructose and galactose. What are macronutrients? Carbohydrates are the macronutrients. Another one, proteins are the macronutrients. Another one is fats. Fats are the macronutrients. So carbohydrates digestion completed means what is the end products? Glucose and fructose is the end product of carbohydrates. If protein digestion completed means what is the end products of proteins? Amino acids are the end products. Amino acids are the end products of proteins. Fats. Fats digestion completed. So what is the end product of fat? Fatty acid. Fatty acid, or we can say another also we can say as a glycerol. Fatty acid and glycerol. So these are the end products of the nutrients which we are consuming in our daily food. So in this way digestion completed. Now we will see how this absorption occurs in the intestine. Absorption occurs in the intestine. So, before going to the absorption which occurs in the small intestine, we will see how the movement of food occurs in the intestine. So that movement we will call as peristalsis. Peristalsis, or we can say peristaltic movement. Peristalsis movement. So how the movement of food, or we can say how food travels from mouth to the intestine. So this how food travels is, already I have said alimentary canal is made up of with smooth muscles. So because of the contraction and relaxation of smooth muscles, some movements occurs in the intestine. So movements occurs in the intestine because of the contraction and relaxation contraction and relaxation of smooth muscles. Contraction and relaxation of smooth muscles. So, because of the contraction and relaxation of the smooth muscles present in the intestine, some kind of movements occurs in the intestine. That movements which are exhibiting by the contraction and relaxation of the smooth muscles are called peristaltic movements. So peristaltic movement starts from esophagus and continues till rectum. So continues from this movement esophagus, starts from esophagus and continues till rectum. Esophagus and continues till rectum.
జేఈఈ మెయిన్స్ 2020 మొదటి ప్రయత్నంలోనే 45 మంది విద్యార్థులకు గాను 36 మంది విద్యార్థులు ఐఐటి అడ్వాన్స్డ్ కి అర్హత సాధించి అత్యద్భుతమైన ప్రతిభను సామాన్యమైన విద్యార్థుల ద్వారా నిరూపించిన ఏకైక విద్యా సంస్థ
కృష్ణమూర్తి ఐఐటి అండ్ నీట్ అకాడమీ నెల్లూరు.
Which is present in the mouth. Suppose already the food which is present in the mouth is masticated. After the food masticating, that we are calling as food bolus. We are calling as a food bolus. So this food bolus, after swallowing, or we can say through deglutition process, it enters into the esophagus, deglutition, or we can call as a swallowing. So food bolus from the mouth is swallowed, it travels from pharynx and enters to the esophagus. So food from the oral cavity comes to the pharynx to the esophagus. So when it comes to the esophagus consists of two kinds of muscles. Esophagus consists of two kinds of muscles. What are the two kinds of muscles occurs in the esophagus? That is longitudinal muscles and circular muscles. Longitudinal muscles and circular muscles. While we are seeing about the muscles, that is histology of alimentary canal, already I have said histology of alimentary canal, that is starting from esophagus to rectum. It is made up of with four layers, that is serosa, muscularis, submucosa and mucosa. That is the second layer called muscularis. Muscularis is made up of with the two kinds of muscles, that is longitudinal muscles and circular muscles. In esophagus, we can see clearly in the muscularis externa that longitudinal and circular muscles. So because of this longitudinal and circular muscles, after the food bolus reaching to the esophagus, some kind of propulsion occurs. So how this propulsion occurs? Suppose if this is the esophagus, now the food bolus which is, this is pharynx, the food bolus while entering from pharynx to esophagus, propulsion of muscle occurs. Propulsion is nothing but one kind of force is exerted in longitudinal and circular muscles. That force exerted by the muscles pushes the food bolus from one part to another part. One part to another part means the same tube from one place to another place. So this propulsion of food bolus, when the food is pushing from one part to another part, that propulsion appears to be as a successive wave-like motions. It appears to be a successive wave-like motions. It appears to be a successive wave-like motions. So in that way, that is or we can say a successive wave-like motions. So this successive wave-like motions pushes the food bolus. So this movement we will call as a peristaltic movement. Peristaltic movement. That moment is called peristaltic moment. So this, the help of this peristaltic moment only, food is pushed from one part to another part. But whereas this peristaltic moment is same from esophagus to rectum, esophagus to rectum. The food from esophagus comes to the stomach, comes to the stomach. In stomach, food is made, this in the stomach, the walls or the muscles present in the stomach is made up of with three kinds of muscles. What are the three kinds of muscles? Circular, circular, longitudinal, longitudinal, and diagonal muscles. Longitudinal and diagonal muscles. So when compare with the esophagus and stomach, food just in the esophagus, food is passed through peristaltic movement. But once the food reaches to the stomach, because of these three muscles, food is churned well. Food is churned well in the stomach. What happens to the food in the stomach? Food is churned well. Churned is nothing but a grinding. Churned is nothing but a food is grinded well. That grinded food we are calling as chyme. We are calling as a chyme. So chyme is the food, or we can say partially digested food in the stomach we are calling as chyme. So now food from the stomach, it passes to the duodenum, passes to the duodenum. But while entering till the rectum, same peristaltic movement occurs. Till the rectum, same, that is from stomach, it enters to the enters to the small intestine. From small intestine, intestine, and intestine to the rectum. Intestine to the rectum. But because of this peristaltic movement or successive wave-like movement, when the food is traveling in peristaltic movement, slowly the food will be traveling till the rectum. But what happens here is, that is in between the stomach, that is between the esophagus and the stomach and the intestine, there are some kind of sphincters. Some kind of sphincters is gut or alimentary canal is guarded by some kind of valves. These valves are guarded by the sphincters. Sphincters are nothing but a small pores where which prevents the backward flow of food. So how many sphincters we have? There is the one sphincter which is present between esophagus and stomach. That sphincter, already while we are speaking about the anatomy of, when we are speaking about the structure of alimentary canal, already I have said. The sphincter which is present between esophagus and stomach is called cardiac sphincter. Whereas the sphincter which is present between stomach and intestine is called pyloric sphincter. So when comes near this pyloric sphincter, food has to be passes through the sphincters and must come out of the intestine. But whereas through peristaltic movement, food will be slowly passing through professionals, or we can say through successive movements, it will be slowly passing. But here, nervous system also is involved. Which nervous system allows the food particles to travel through the sphincters is a parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic, important bit children. Parasympathetic nervous system speeds up. It fastens the propulsion of food, or it makes the food bolus to pass through the sphincters. So parasympathetic nervous system stimulates and makes the food to pass through the sphincters. So in this way, from the sphincters, food is passed into the next part called intestine. So in this way, the movement of food occurs in a successive manner or in a peristaltic movement. Because of passing this food through different tracts or different parts only, food is mixed with different kinds of digestive enzymes and food is digested in the small intestine. Now what happens to the digested food materials? So the digested food material which is completely digested in the small intestine has to be absorbed or must enter to the blood for further metabolic activities. Or the food which is completely digested completely digested by the action of digestive enzymes, must be absorbed in the small intestine. So which helps the food for absorption. Now we will see how absorption occurs in the small intestine. Absorption of food materials, absorption of digested food materials, absorption of digested food. So next topic, next one is absorption of digested food. How this digested food is absorbed in the small intestine. While we are seeing about the structure of alimentary canal, that is the structure of small intestine, I have said what are the parts in the small intestine and which particles increases the surface area, that is which parts increases the surface area and which helps for the digestion of food materials, or we can say as assimilation. Assimilation is nothing but absorption. So how this digested food materials in the small intestine is digested by which part and how this digestion occurs. So the digestion of food materials, mostly all the macronutrients which we have consumed has digested into their end products. So now the end products present in the digested food materials are end products. So the end products which are present in the digested food materials are glucose, lactose or galactose, glucose, galactose, amino acids and fatty acids, amino acids, fatty acids and glycerol So these are the end products which has to be absorbed. Which part these end products has to be absorbed? They has to be absorbed in the small intestine. So in the small intestine, already we have seen a structures called villi or the structures called microvilli. Microvilli are the finger-like particles or microscopic particles which increases the surface area for the absorption of digested food materials in the small intestine. So this microvilli is formed by a network of, is covered by a network of blood capillaries, covered by a network of blood capillaries, and lacteals. And lacteals are we can call as a lymph capillaries. So this microvilli is the part that is which is covered with a network of blood capillaries and lymph capillaries. So this is the part where absorption of food material takes place. So food materials, the absorption of digested food materials takes place in three ways. That is in three processes. What are the three processes? That is passive process, active process, another one is facilitated process. So these are the three processes where the absorption occurs. So absorption of food materials occurs in three ways. So what are the three ways how this absorption of food materials occurs in the intestine is active way, passive way and facilitated way. These are the three ways how this food material occurs. Now we will see how which are the food items or which are the end products and how they enter into the intestine. Suppose if you see glucose, amino acids, glucose and amino acids along with the amino acids and some electrolytes called, that is chlorine, that is some electrolytes, chlorine. These food items or these digested food materials or this digested food material enters through simple diffusion, enters through simple diffusion means absorbed into the microvilli, into the blood capillaries. So glucose, amino acids, and some of the electrolytes like chloride ions, these enters into the blood capillaries, or these things are absorbed into the blood capillaries by simple diffusion, by simpler diffusion. And some of the end products are the digested food materials like fructose, fructose and little bit amount of amino acids, fructose and amino acids. These fructose and amino acids enters through active way, that is enters into the blood capillaries through active method or through active way. So how this enters into the active way is with the help of some of the electrolytes or some of the electrolytes called sodium ions. So these digested food materials while entering into the blood capillaries or lacteals, they enter through different process by simple diffusion or through active way. But while passing these food materials from small intestine into the blood, the entry depends upon the concentration gradient of the substances. Very important children, that is concentration gradient. Concentration gradient of the substances. Concentration gradient of substances. What is meant by concentration gradient of the substances? Suppose if glucose concentration gradient is more than the blood, then automatically through osmotic process or simple diffusion, that is from a higher concentration to lower concentration, the food molecules will move. So that is called concentration gradient. So movement of this digested food materials, though it is the glucose, fructose, amino acids, or whatever it may be, this enters into the blood by basing on the concentration gradient of the substances. So now glucose, amino acids and electrolytes, that is chloride ions, passes into the blood, or this digested food materials enters into the blood through simple diffusion. And some of the digested food materials like fructose, amino acids enters through active way. Active way is when it is passing through this, when more concentration, that is when this fructose and amino acids more amount when compared with the blood, so actively they passes into the blood. But here energy is consumed. Energy is consumed. More amount of energy is consumed in the active mode of absorption. But whereas in simple diffusion in other process, they are passive process. Passive process means the energy is not consumed. Suppose if we take water, water enters into the fluid, that is enters into the blood through osmotic process. Osmotic gradient enters through osmotic gradient or through osmotic process. What is meant by osmosis, children? Movement of water from a more that is more concentration to less concentration. So through osmotic gradient, water enters into the blood, and some of the particles like glucose, galactose, and amino acids enters into the blood. Amino acid enters into the blood through facilitated transport. Facilitated transport. What is meant by facilitated transport? Facilitated transport is nothing but these organisms, some of the digested food materials Directly they cannot enter through simple diffusion or through active way of transport. But sometimes they need some other electrolyte, or some other electrolytes for the transport of these digested food materials. Not all the digested food material, some amount of glucose, some amount of galactose or amino acids, which is not actively or which is not entering into the blood through simple diffusion or through active way. It is not absorbed means. So such kind of digested food materials enters into the blood through facilitated transport by the electrolyte called sodium ions. So through sodium ions, some of the glucose, galactose and amino acids enters into the blood or will be absorbed by the blood capillaries through facilitated transport. So in this way, the digested food materials enters to the small intestine. So now which is left here, children? Still fatty acid is left because the glucose, galactose, which one? Glucose, galactose, amino acids are the end products of carbohydrates and proteins. So directly they enter into they are absorbed by the microvilli with the help of blood capillaries which are around the whereas galactose are this enters through facilitated transport with the help of electrolytes called sodium ions. And some of the amino acids and glucose enters through the electrolytes through active process that is called a chlorine ions or through simple diffusion. So in this way, somehow the food material which is digested in the small intestine is absorbed by different ways into the blood capillaries. But which is left here? Fatty acids and glycerol is left. Now we will see how this fatty acid and glycerol enters into the blood capillaries. Here what we have to see is these remaining things like glucose, galactose and amino acids directly enters or directly absorbs by the blood capillaries. Is directly absorbed by the blood capillaries. But whereas fatty acid and glycerol is not directly absorbed by the blood capillaries. That is, fatty acids and glycerol cannot be absorbed directly by the blood capillaries because of the molecules are larger in size. Which molecules are larger in size? Fatty acids are larger in size. Fatty acids and glycerol, being a large molecule, directly they will not enter into the blood. So they enter in another way. So how these fatty acids? Now we will see only about the absorption of fatty acids and glycerol. So absorption of fatty acids and glycerol. So how the absorption of fatty acids and glycerol takes place. Now the fatty acid is the end product of fat. So this fatty acid has to be entered to the blood. Already we have seen that fats are nothing but the reserved energy which is present in the liver or which is stored in the liver in the form of cholesterol. Now we have to see how this is absorbed in the small intestine. The fatty acids which are of macromolecules in the first process, this fatty acids has to be converted to small molecules, called micelles. Small molecules called micelles. Micelles are nothing but small fat globules. So this is converted to small globules. Which converts the small fat globules is bile salts. Bile salts converts this molecules to small molecules called chylomicrons. Converts to chylomicrons. So the fatty acids which are of small, that is large molecules, by the action of bile salts are converted to chilomolecules. Chilomolecules are small fat molecules. Small fat globules, small fat globules. So this small fat globules called chylomicrons directly, so chylomicrons will not enter into the blood capillaries. So how they enter is, already while we are talking about this microvilli, while we are talking about the microvilli is covered with a network, I said. But what network it is covered? It is covered with a lacteals as well as lacteals and blood capillaries. Lacteals and blood capillaries. So now these blood capillaries are not absorbing, they are not absorbing water, fatty acid. So now which is remaining around the villi? Lacteals. So lacteals only absorbs the fatty acids. So chylomicrons enters into the lacteals. Enters into the lacteals. What are lacteals? Lacteals are the lymph capillaries. Lacteals are the lymph capillaries. Lymph capillaries. Now, the chylomicrons, that is small fat globules, enters into the lacteals, that is into the lymph capillaries. But how they enter is, while entering, these chylomicrons, chylomicrons are surrounded by a protein, that is surrounded by a protein coat, is surrounded by a protein coat, that is a protein fat molecule. So such kind of chylomicrons we are calling as the protein fat globules. So in the form of protein fat globules, this chylomicron enters into the lacteals. So chylomicrons are surrounded by a protein coat. This protein coat, the chylomicrons which are covered by the protein coat, we are calling as protein fat globules. This protein are the fat globules which are coated, which are covered by protein. That molecules are called protein fat globules, enters to the lacteals. So after entering into the lacteal, now this lacteals, it enters to the lacteals or lymph capillaries. So now from the lymph capillaries which carries the fat, lymph capillaries which is carrying the fats, that fat molecules are the protein coated chylomicrons enters into the blood capillaries, or it is transported to the blood capillaries. So where it is transported, very important bit children, lymph capillaries which consists of chylomicrons enters to the blood capillaries or transports these fat molecules into the blood capillaries. If this lymph capillaries has the fat globules, no use. But energy has to be liberated, means it must enter to the blood. So where it enters into the blood capillaries in the chest cavity by a vein called left subclavial vein. Left subclavial vein. Left subclavian vein. What is the vein, children? Very important. So the vein which pumps the chylomicrons into the blood capillaries is called left subclavial vein. So where is left subclavial vein? Left subclavial vein is present in the thoracic part. Is present in the thoracic part. So near the thoracic duct, the chylomicrons are pumped into the left subclavial vein. So from the left subclavial vein, that is the left subclavian vein, it enters into the blood capillaries. Enters into the blood capillaries. Now this blood capillaries, the blood capillaries, which consists of fatty acid, is digested. Digested. So how it is digested? It is digested by an enzyme called, this is also very important bit children. It is digested by an enzyme called lipoprotein or lipoprotein lipase. Lipoprotein lipase is an enzyme. Lipoprotein lipase is an enzyme which digests the fat. Because the fatty acid is not directly entering into the lacteals. Fatty acid which is coated by protein molecules only entered to the lacteals. This lacteals brought the fat molecules which is coated with the protein and thrown into the blood capillaries in the thoracic region near the thoracic duct by the help of left subclavian vein. So through left subclavian vein, the fat molecule entered to the blood capillaries, and in the blood capillaries, after entering the fat molecules into the blood capillaries, this fat is dissolved or digested by lipoprotein lipase. Lipoprotein lipase is an enzyme which digests the proteins, which digests the fat. So this fat now is sent back to the liver. Or we can say it is stored in adipose tissue. It is stored in a adipose tissue, or we can say it is stored in the liver. It is stored in the liver for a further energy process. So how this enters, I will show in the flow chart children, how this fat enters into the blood circulation. So if you see this fatty acids, fatty acid is the end product. Fatty acid is the end product. This fatty acid enters into is converted to chylomicrons. By the bile salts. Converted to bile salts. So chylomicrons are coated with a protein coat